I added gold, uranium, and cobalt ore chunks that drop from the asteroids when they break. They award the player points depending on the size and type. So first, I'll move the scene and script from the health folder into the root and rename them to item. And reattach the script and rename the node as well. And then I'll use the generic or the default icon so I don't get confused. So this is a rigid body so it can interact with the player's gravity beam, and it's on layer 2 so it doesn't interact with so it doesn't collide with the bumpers or the player. And then the area 2D is on the same collision mask as the player, so it's the only thing that can pick them up. This has monitoring and monitored enabled on the area 2D, and then on the body itself I've disabled can sleep, and then I have a timer with 30 seconds, and this is connected to the timeout so it'll disappear after 30 seconds. And then I'll just comment this out and call the on pickup instead. So this will be defined in each of the child classes. So this will pass the body as well from the function. Then I make a new inherited scene from item and rename it to health pack. And drag the heart.png into the texture field. Then I'll attach a new script extending the dropped item class. We'll set this to class name dropped item, and then make the health pack extend dropped item, and then we'll copy the add health back into here, and set this to add health. So now I can open up the energy and do the same thing, except add 50 energy instead. And then I can delete the energy pack scene and make a new inherited scene from item again. This time rename it to energy pack. And attach the script. Make it extend drop item. And then drag the lightning bolt into the texture. Then I'll make the boss core script extend dropped item. Change this to on pickup. Add one boss core to the player stat. And then the process makes it chase the player, so we'll leave that there. Then in the scene, it's basically the same, but I have a particles 2D effect. So I'll go ahead and delete this scene, make a new inherited scene from item, rename it boss core, and then I can copy the particles 2D node from the previous, and we'll add it behind the sprite, and then drag the texture into there. And now I can save this to replace the previous one. I do have to close this though. Don't save, save it in boss core. And then I'll attach the boss core script that we just made. So now I'll just drag a copy of each scene into main to make sure it's all working. And I'll turn off the bumper spawner as well. And turn off the boss spawner. Okay. And then I'll just move these around a little bit. So now when I play, the boss core still follows the player, and I can use the gravity beam to pick up the other two. Then I'll make a new inherited scene for the ore chunk base scene. So I'll name it and save. And then I want to attach a new script extending dropped item. So this will have an export variable for points, and it'll be an integer. And then on pickup, body player stats dot add points, and then points as the parameter. I found some pixel art ore chunks on Pixabay, which are free for commercial use. Then, using the hue chroma tool in GIMP, I changed the hue to green so it looks like uranium. Also, set the class name for the ore chunk. Then make a new inherited scene for the uranium. Drag the image into the texture. Now I want to resize the collision shape, but when I resize it here, and I'll go ahead and save it, it resizes for all of the dropped items. So I'll go ahead and shrink this one back down. And then in the ore chunk, I'll make the collision shape unique. And then I'll copy it. So now, before I copy it, so I can resize this in the ore chunk, which will affect the uranium, but it won't affect the health pack, then I can make a copy of the shape and paste it into the area collision. So now when I change the body collision shape, the area changes as well. So in uranium, and save it. Now I can make this as big as it needs to be. Now I'll change the points value through the editor to 500, and I'll add a copy to main just to test it out. So I'll use the gravity beam. And player stats. Oh. That's because it is increase points, not add points. Okay. And try again. So this time it added 500 points. Very good. Now, since it's a rigid body, I have to scale each individual component because setting the transform directly will be overwritten by the physics engine. So I already have a scale for the asteroid. So we'll get the set size scale vector equals square root, so that it scales the area instead of the sides. So I don't have a size variable, so we'll set the scale vector. So the points will be times equal scale. This is a float, so it'll be between 0 and 1. And then we'll say the sprite, let me check, so just dot scale, sprite scale equals scale vector, and then collision shape and area will be the same. Like so. Okay. And then, so for now, I'll say on ready, set the size to 0.3. So now you can see the ore chunk is much smaller than it was, and when you pick it up, it only gives you 150 points instead of the 500. So now I'll remove the ready function from the ore chunk, and in the asteroid, it has a 50-50 chance of spawning 3 chunks or spawning 2 chunks. So if it spawns 2 chunks, I want it to spawn an ore as well. So I'll preload the uranium scene. And then make a new function to spawn the ore and take a size as the parameter. So then we'll call this in the died function, and this only activates if the size is greater than 0.2. So now I'll make a new OR variable equal uranium.instance, set uranium position to the global position of the asteroid, and then this is size over 2, and then I'll set the size equal to S, and then I'll spawn the item using the connector OR. So this is OR.position, OR.set size, and then in main I will turn the bumper spawner back on, but so I'll assign the asteroid to the first array slot and then remove the other ones so it just spawns asteroids. And now we can see if this works. So that one spawned 3. I can hold shift to make it still. So you can see the uranium chunks are spawning. And whenever I pick it up, it adds the points like it should. So now I can make a new inherited scene from the ore chunk for the cobalt, and assign the sprite, and I'll set the points to 300, and then make another inherited scene for the gold and set the points to 100 and assign the sprite. So now I'll add an export variable to the asteroid to hold all of the ore types as a new array, and then through the editor I'll make a new array of size 3, and they'll all be of type object. So then I can just drag the ore scenes directly into the array. And then I'll remove the uranium and set this to ore list at randomize mod ore list dot size. So this will get a random index and make an instance of that instead. So now when I test it, if I can get it to drop any ore, so that one dropped gold. There's some cobalt and uranium. And as you can see, it's adding points when you pick it up. So that's it for this episode of Derp Star. Thank you for watching and have a great day.